All right, has Rich joined us yet? Hour of 6 o'clock on this beautiful May afternoon of May 4th, 2021. The City Council for the City of Woodland is now in session. Madam Clerk, we will please call the roll.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Vega.
Present.
Councilmember Fernandez.
Present.
Councilmember Garcia Cadena.
Present.
Councilmember Landsberg.
Late but present.
Thank you. Mayor Stallard.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. The record will show that all members of the council are in attendance. We'll now move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. And I've asked our City Park Superintendent, Mr. Wesley Schroeder, to lead us in the pledge. Wesley?
Pledge allegiance to the flag
United States
of America
and
to the republic for which it stands, under one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Wes. I appreciate your help tonight. All right, this is the time for public comment. Madam Clerk, has anyone indicated a desire to speak on an item not otherwise agendized for this evening's meeting?
No, I don't have any voicemail messages or emails at this time.
All right, thank you. That will conclude public comment, although we are happy to take public comment on any item on the agenda as we proceed. Next item is council and staff statements and requests. And tonight, why don't we start with Council Member Vicky Fernandez. Vicky?
Thank you, Mayor Stallard. Well, I want to start off today by thanking our Chief CAF for meeting with one of our residents just yesterday morning and to discuss some of her concerns regarding the gang task force. So I thank you for your time. Want to thank our local teachers for all the work that they do, since today is Teacher Appreciation Day. So just want to thank them for the work they continue to do for our students. And I want to support and ask you to support our local businesses by coming out tomorrow for Cinco de Mayo for the celebration downtown, and eat out at our local restaurants and help us get back on our feet and support their businesses. And also May 6th is a big day of giving. So please reach out to your local nonprofits and support them. They rely on our donations, and just want to remind everyone to go out there and virtually donate if you haven't already. I also wanted to thank the youth of our community who were engaged in the Youth Empowerment Summit. I still have my virtual background up from that summit. And there were a lot of very important discussions and conversations with elected officials and our young adults from the area. So I want to thank them for the issues that they discussed. One of them was racial equity and the impact of COVID-19 on the students, and kind of reminded us that they are still feeling the impacts of COVID-19. One of the students reminded us of the loss of family members. You know, there are people that have died because of this disease. So just a reminder that we all need to do our part to keep our COVID guidelines in place. Wear your mask, social distance, vaccinate if you haven't already. Please remember that we're counting on each other to get through that. And one of the exciting things that I also felt from that Youth Empowerment Summit was the discussion of race equity. So our local school district and our Woodland Community College, UC Davis have all implemented some sort of diversity, equity, and inclusion policies or task force within their agencies. So I'm requesting that the City of Woodland look at the opportunity to evaluate how we are addressing the needs within our community in hiring and in training. So I'm making that request public for us to look at diversity, equity, and inclusion policy for the City of Woodland. It's occurring throughout our nation. The League of California Cities has a lot of resources and tools that we can use to look at how we can address that issue within our community. I'm encouraging that we look at implicit bias training for all of us, for all city employees, that we evaluate and take a look at how we are dealing with the issues of race equity, and hope that we can move forward in the direction that many cities in our nation have addressed. So thank you again for your time, and hope that we can address those issues that are concerning for our students and our families and our residents. Thank you, Mayor Stallard.
And thank you, Council Member Fernandez. Mayor Pro Tem Ira Vega. Are you muted, Myra?
Oh, yes, sorry. Too many mute buttons here. Thank you, Mayor Stallard. So I wanted to take a moment to thank all of our teachers for everything that they do, recognizing, like Councilwoman Fernandez said, that it's Teacher Appreciation Day. I hope it's a whole week. I hope they get a whole week, but I know that I very much appreciate all the work they do. I know this has been a challenging few months. Will continue to be so as our students are coming back after having this very challenging year. I suspect that they are dealing with a lot of issues and a lot of the aftermath. So I really appreciate them. And I also really enjoyed participating in the Youth Empowerment Summit on the 24th. I was very much, not taken back, but more surprised in a good way, just about how our youth was able to openly express their concerns and their impacts about the pandemic. I thought that, I think when all said is done and we can put COVID behind us, I think having the opportunity for our youth to have this Zoom platform to be able to express themselves, where some of them may not have want to do so, or just in the present or physical environment. That's something that I hope stays, so that we're able to engage with more folks, reach more folks. The issue of inequity also resonated with me. I heard that loud and clear through our youth. They're really seeing what's happening locally and across the nation, are really calling on us as elected officials to really address those things, and really do put things in place to address those issues in our communities. The big day of giving, as I think about all of the nonprofits here in our community that day in and day out help our community members, it's hard to choose one or two that are the best, but I hope that everybody finds it in their hearts, and if they have the ability to do so, support some of our local nonprofits that help support our community. And that is all, Mayor Stallard. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Myra Vega. Council Member Rich Landsberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me okay?
Hear you just fine, Rich. Well, we could hear you. He went away.
No, he went away.
How about now?
Now we can hear you.
Good. As a reminder, Mr. Mayor, the Woodland Community College and the City of Woodland have now launched the Woodland Promise program. For this, applications have begun to be accepted at the college. And as a reminder to anyone who thinks they lack the funding for community college, Woodland Promise program will provide you up to $1,000 scholarship to further assist you with college expenses for 2 years. For those of you that you think you can't afford to go, you live in Woodland, please reach out and apply. You can visit the school's website at www.yccd, and they have a full application process there. Mr. Mayor, for years, the local Kiwanis Club has teamed up with the City of Woodland, specifically the Department of Community Services, to help underwrite water safety scholarships for young children. To date, the Kiwanis Club has donated about $17,000 towards this effort. They've also worked the Woodland Fire Department to train high school students in CPR techniques. Who knows just how many lives have been saved because of the Kiwanis effort. And the reason I bring that up is this on Friday, May 14th, the Kiwanis Club will have another drive-through dinner. This time it'll be a delicious tri-tip roast with the trainings that go with that. The meal feeds a huge group, 5-6 people will feed. Tickets are $70. From my experience, these dinners have been absolutely delicious and worth the price. The pickup point will again be the community center. If you would like to support this effort, which again helps support our kids, you can contact Mark Allman at the Kiwanis Club at 312-7298, or you can contact me and I'll get you in touch with the Kiwanis Club. Lastly, I do appreciate the teachers as well, but Mr. Mayor, it's also National Nurses Week. We all know what's been going on for the last 14 or 15 months. More than anything, if you know a nurse, just let them know how much you appreciate what they've done for our community over the last 14 or 15 months. Living one myself, I know what it's been like and the trauma they go through day in and day out, taking care of these patients who come down with this horrible disease. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Landsberg. Councilmember Garcia Cadena.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to let everyone know that YOLO Stage and the City of Woodland Parks and Rec has just announced that they will be doing their summer acting theater program. They're going to be doing Alice in Wonderland, and it will be online as it was last year. But this is a wonderful acting. There's acting, there's singing, there's movement. It's just a great program. And it's for any Woodland youth between the ages of 8 and 16. And so I would really encourage, if you're looking for something for your kids to do this year and you know, they like to perform, this is the thing to do. My daughter's participated for a few years and she absolutely loves it. The other thing is I'm so excited that this Friday will be First Friday, Art Walk Downtown. So I encourage everyone to come on downtown. As Councilmember Fernandez said, tomorrow is our Cinco de Mayo, and then Thursday, big day of giving, and Friday we have First Friday Art Walk. So lots of ways for people in our community to get involved, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Garcia Cadena. For myself, I can only second all of the great things that my fellow council members have reported on. But I have no other specific items tonight, so I'll just go right to the mayor's minute. Lester Holt, the highly regarded anchor of NBC Nightly News and a native of Sacramento, ends his broadcast with these words: "Take care of yourself and take care of each other." I think that is great counsel, and each of us has a significant opportunity to do this on Thursday when the 9th annual Big Day of Giving rolls around. 98 Yolo County-based nonprofits will be among the almost 700 nonprofits throughout the region participating. The total donated has been growing dramatically over the years, especially last year when we were in the depths of the COVID pandemic. But the needs continue and grow, so everyone's help is needed and earnestly requested. To donate, all you need is a credit card and the ability to go online to www.bigdayofgiving.org. Again, www.bigdayofgiving.org. And you don't have to wait until Thursday to do this. You can do this 24 hours a day from right now through midnight Thursday. So make a list of the things you care about. Select an amount you can afford to give and then spread it among some of the worthy nonprofits that will be participating. Our community will be the better for it. Mr. Manager?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. A few quick reports from the city manager tonight. First, I do want to call attention to the commission recruitment process. The city is still accepting applications for interested residents wanting to participate on one of our many commissions. The application deadline is this Friday, and I want to certainly encourage anybody that's interested and even exploring the idea of serving on a commission and taking advantage of the great opportunity to shape the future to do so. Application is online, and encourage to get the word out to your constituents. In addition to Cinco de Mayo this week and First Friday, this Saturday, the Woodland Farmers Market will be launching their 2021 Farmers Market season. Again, Saturday mornings from 9 a.m. till noon, right across from the Woodland Public Library. The library will be having reading time as well as part of that, so encourage folks to come out to the Farmers Market Saturday morning. And then in June, the market will expand again this year with their Tuesday markets with new hours this year. So they're going to try a noontime market over at the Woodland Memorial Hospital area from 11 till 2. So again, encourage folks to support our local farmers market. Also want to give the council a heads up that we will be formally announcing the decision to postpone our 4th of July festivities organized by the city this year. So the fireworks show and the other activities that are so cherished by our community, unfortunately, will be postponed due to COVID this year and the constantly changing gathering requirements and the popularity around these activities. So we felt it was in the best interest of the community to postpone one more year and look forward to celebrating in 2022. But we do want to encourage, of course, residents to continue to celebrate Independence Day here in Woodland in their own way, decorating their blocks and their neighborhoods. The Community Services Department will be providing a limited number, but a fair number of free decorating kits. So encourage folks to go online to the Community Services Department and search for 4th of July and reserve your free 4th of July celebration kit. Also upcoming, the Woodland Little League will be dedicating the new Bob Buchignani Field. The former Buchignani Field was decommissioned over to the fairgrounds, and the Little League has plans to dedicate the new field over at Christensen Park Saturday, May 15th at 3 p.m. So if any of the council members desire to attend that event, please let Christine Engel know, and she'll give you details about when that will specifically occur. And then lastly, want to welcome 2 new police officers to our police department this week. Officer Kayla Schweitzer, as well as Sierra Brewer, were commissioned into the department and will start their training this week. So welcome to City of Woodland Police Department. We're very much thank you for your commitment, dedication to our community. And then quick check on long range calendars. So May 18th will be the next council meeting. We'll have a much fuller agenda than we have this evening with much to digest in terms of budget information. So the fiscal year 21-22 preliminary budget will be presented to the council and the community for input before bringing it back to the council in June for final consideration of adoption. As part of that process, we will also be presenting the Measure F and Measure J spending plans, as well as the capital budget. So a lot of details, a lot of numbers to be digesting coming forward here, but we hope to get that council packet out by next Wednesday to give you ample time to review those and be prepared to ask questions. And then we will also be bringing back revised ordinance language around the mayor pro tem rotation finally. So I'll have that in the packet to look forward for discussion and hopefully action at the 18th as well. So that concludes my report. Give it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. That concludes item E, communications, and allows us to move along to item F, the consent calendar, items 2 through 17. Are there any items on the consent calendar that any member of the council wishes removed for independent consideration? If there's not, does any member of the council wish to comment on any item on the consent calendar before we proceed to a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for probably for Public Works. And it's this.
We're losing your audio.
The vehicles that have been purchased in Lindenburg, still losing the audio?
No, we can hear you now. The
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. the vehicles that have been purchased, there doesn't seem to be too many local people who are bidding. Is there a reason why they're not bidding, or something that we can do to encourage local bidders?
Well, Councilman Landsberg, this is Craig Locke. We do encourage local bidders, and we give the local bidders a 5% differential. So they can still come in a little bit higher and still win the bid on the vehicles. In the past, we've had quite a few. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'd say probably around half at least of the vehicles that the city purchases have been local bidders, or fulfilled by local dealerships. These particular, I assume you're referring to the six cars, the 6 Chargers? Or the Mastic machine, we didn't receive any bids on, but the Chargers, I don't have the particulars of the bid in front of me, but I'm happy to go over them with you, get them together.
Well, I just wondered why, we have a local Dodge dealership here.
Rich, you might want to say that again. Your voice
at least try. That was my only question.
We certainly reach out to the local bidders.
Why the local? I'm having audio. Sorry, I'll just close off.
Thank you. I think we understand the issue. And I will just put it out to the community. We really like to see our local car dealerships bid on the car purchases for our city. We are bound by law to select the lowest bidder, but we are allowed to allow a preference, and we do, of 5% for local bidders. But we know from experience that some of these contracts are not being even bid on by local bidders. So I believe that's what our council colleague was trying to express concern about. Is there anything else on the consent calendar that any council member wishes to ask a question or make a comment about?
I have a quick question, Mayor Stallard.
Please proceed.
So this is on number 12. I'm having a hard time understanding what this means. It says, authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with public restroom company in the amount not to exceed $674,000 through a cooperative purchasing agreement with buy board contract number 592-19. I don't understand what buy board contract number 592-19 means.
Mr. Manager?
Yeah, so I followed up with Christine Engel, Community Services Director, on this topic. So Buy Board is a consortium that does a thorough vetting of potential bidders for various products. And so we're allowed under state bidding law to sole source through that consortium. So that's what we did in this case. So we effectively, through their contract, will be procuring the restrooms through the vendor that you indicated. But it's through the consortium. So again, it's a little bit convoluted, but it actually provides a much more expedited and efficient process for public agencies to procure equipment.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question.
All right. Anything else on any issue on the consent calendar from anyone? Any member of the public wish to comment before we go to motion? Madam Clerk?
Mayor Stoller?
Yes. Councilmember Member Pro Tem Vega.
Yes, I have one comment. So it's on the Charles Brook Community Center. So this is just a quick call out just about what a great asset that is. I've been spending some time driving by there, and I've just seen a lot of energy there. Such a great amenity, and we're so blessed to have it in our city. And the second is, Mayor Stollard, on item 13, I'm going to be recusing myself because of conflict of interest with my home.
Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate your making it. All right. I think that's probably all the comments or questions we have. Madam Clerk, any member of the public have a comment or question on the consent calendar?
No, I don't have any emails, voicemail messages, and I don't see anyone raising their hand.
All right. Then we are ready to proceed to a motion, and we have to understand that the motion will be to approve the consent calendar when we get it. But on the vote, our colleague Mayor Pro Tem Vega will be excluding herself from participation on item 13. May we have a motion, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Vega, motion.
Okay, then we'll just vote separately on item 13. So you are moving the approval of the consent calendar, items 2 through 17, less item 13. We'll vote separately on that. Is there a second to Mayor Pro Tem Vega's motion?
Hernandez.
Thank you, Councilmember Fernandez seconds. Further discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Vega,
Aye.
Councilmember Fernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Garcia Cadena,
Aye.
Councilmember Landsberg,
Aye.
Mayor Stallard.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously. We'll now move for independent consideration of item 13. The mayor will offer the motion that we adopt the action in item 13. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
And the second was by
Garcia Cadena.
Garcia Cadena. Thank you, Tanya. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? There being none, let us proceed with the roll call for item 13. Madam Clerk?
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Fernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Garcia Cadena,
Aye.
Councilmember Landsberg,
Aye.
Mayor Stallard.
Aye. And the record will reflect that the Mayor Pro Tem was not participating in that consideration or vote. All right, that concludes the consent calendar for this evening. We now move on to the reports of the city manager, and we have our regular update on COVID-19 responses and preparedness. Mr. Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So this week's report will be very brief. We continue to see low case rates continuing throughout Yolo County. However, there was a slight uptick over the course of the last week. However, that has not translated to increased hospitalizations. So continue to watch that closely, but unlikely given the current sort of stabilization to achieve yellow criteria prior to the June 15th governor announced full reopening. So likely that we will remain in the orange tier through the balance of this month and into June. Much of the effort really is focused, as we all know, around the vaccination efforts. And as of last week, the county reports that they have exceeded, or we have all exceeded 60% vaccination of persons that are eligible for the vaccine and have received at least the first dose. So continue to see good progress there. However, a much reduced sort of take rate. So to that end, the county is doubling down their efforts to develop strategies in partnership with our business community as well as ecumenical groups throughout the community to target the harder to reach smaller population groups throughout our community. But for now, encourage again people to continue to consider getting vaccinated to help us maintain the stable and safe levels amongst our case rates in the community. So that concludes this week's COVID report, and happy to answer any questions the council has.
Any questions of the city manager, colleagues?
Mr. Hyatt, was there any indication from the county when we might go to yellow? As I understand it, just today, of all places, Los Angeles County went to yellow today, as did San Francisco County.
Yeah, the county health officer predicts that based on what we see to be somewhat of a steady state of case rates that are just above the criteria necessary to get to the yellow, that will likely stay here through the balance of this month and into June. So likely not to change the tier until the state fully reopens in June.
Thank you.
Is there a reason why the county doesn't bifurcate cities? For example, if Woodland is doing better than West Sacramento and West Sacramento is doing better than Davis, why wouldn't individual cities be allowed to move into a separate tier?
You know, I believe that is actually dictated by the state. So the state prescribes as, you know, the county goes, so goes the cities within the county. So we're really sort of bound by the criteria outlined by the state.
Oh, boo.
Yep.
Yeah. I agree. We are doing really well in so many ways. Hospitalizations are fairly low, as I understand. I believe that's still the case. Any additional comments or questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Manager. We still want to go to yellow. All right, that takes us to the concluding item on the agenda tonight, which is an informational report and options for forming redistricting commission following release of the 2020 census data. And that's again, back to you, Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So the redistricting items before this evening to sort of prime the thinking and get some initial reaction from the council around how you want to approach the redistricting. The state law requires that the council examine and if necessary, adjust the district boundaries every 10 years to ensure compliance with the Voting Rights Act. Typically, this is done in coordination with release of the federal census data, which we have now been informed will not occur until September of this year. So it's actually truncating our process and our timeline to go through the process to update our maps. But we wanted to get ahead of that process and start the discussion with the council around what option you want to choose that has now been expanded by the state of California for how we can go about the various method to evaluate and then ultimately adopt new maps, district maps. So as you know, the council transitioned to district elections in 2016. Since then, the state has enacted several new pieces of legislation that will govern the redistricting process for us. Your staff report does a pretty good job of summarizing and outlining what those options are and what the sequence in the process looks like. But I've asked City Clerk Ana Gonzalez to walk the council and the community through what those options are, as well as what the time frame that we need to work within in order to position us to ultimately adopt revised maps by April timeframe next year. So again, tonight's item is not to ask the council to necessarily take any specific action. We're looking to hear from the council preliminary thoughts and thinking around what method you think fits best with our community. Where we're at right now, we'll take that information and come back to the council with specific actions necessary to initiate that method of choice. I would also offer, if the council desires, you can choose to select 2 members of the council to serve as a subcommittee to work with staff and come up with a recommendation, bring back to the full council. So our hope is to be the next touch point for the council as early as June so that we can initiate that process, recruit committee or commission members over the course of the summer, and then ultimately hold even an initial public hearing before the census data is released. So with that, I'm going to ask Ana now to walk the council through some detail about the various methods and the timeline that we need to work within.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I would like to right now just share a redistricting timeline. And it is my pleasure to present to you this evening. And can you see the timeline?
We can.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to present to you this evening an informational report regarding the redistricting process that will take place over the next 11 months. Every 10 years, local governments use new census data to redraw their district lines to reflect how local populations have changed. Following the city's 2016 transition to district elections, the state has enacted 2 additional laws governing the redistricting process. The first law is the Fair and Inclusive Redistricting for Municipalities and Political Subdivisions, better known as the Fair Maps Act, included in your packet as Attachment A. The Fair Maps Act contains criteria to keep communities together and requires cities and counties to engage communities in the redistricting process by holding public hearings and/or workshops, expanding community outreach, and including non-English speaking communities. The Fair Maps Act requires the City Council to adopt district boundaries using specific criteria. The first criteria is geographically contiguous. Each city council district should share a common border with the next. The second is geographic integrity. Local neighborhoods or communities shall be respected in a manner that minimizes its division. Number 3, easily identifiable by residents. Districts shall be bounded by natural and artificial barriers, including streets. And number 4, geographic compactness. Lines shall be drawn to encourage geographic compactness, and in addition, boundaries shall not be drawn for purposes of favoring or discriminating against a political party. The second law, SB 1018, expanded the methods for redrawing district maps. Under this legislation, in addition to appointing an advisory and an independent commission, the City Council may instead elect to appoint a hybrid commission or contract with the county's independent commission. SB 1018 is summarized in your packet as attachment B. The city is also required to hold at least 4 public hearings. 1 public hearing must be conducted before the City Council draws a draft map, and at least 2 public hearings must be conducted after City Council draws a draft map. Typically, census data is released in April. However, COVID-19 has delayed the data, and the Census Bureau has now estimated the data will be released by September 30th. Once the data is released, the City Council has until April 17th, 2022 to complete the redistricting process and adopt a new map. This is roughly 7 months between the release of the census data and the April 17th deadline. This concludes my very brief report. And Ethan, is there anything you would like to add to my summary?
Ethan Welsh is our city attorney. Ethan?
Thank you, Mayor. I did want to add a little bit, and that is really, the first, as Anna noted, the first step in the process is really to decide what kind of process the council wants to utilize in deciding how we are going to go through this redistricting process. And there's really, there's the different options that she noted that she's put up on this screen now. And I think attachment B is very helpful in kind of showing the distinction between the various options. And so really what I want to emphasize is under the first option, the Citizens Advisory Committee, that's a situation where the City Council retains control and decides whether or not you want to have, what the districts will look like, and you ultimately make the decision. That's the same under the Advisory Commission. You would appoint those members and then you would move forward. The hybrid and independent commissions are a little bit different in that under those, with an independent commission, the commission would be established and that commission would decide what the boundaries were. So that would be entirely independent of the council. The hybrid commission, it's a hybrid between the independent commission and an advisory commission. So what they do is that hybrid commission would also come up with options, and they would be appointed kind of separate from the council process. And then they would bring those options to the council, and then you would be limited to whatever options that commission gave you. So really, as a first step, what you should be thinking about is how much discretion the council wants to retain over this process. And if you really want to ultimately be the decision maker in the process, you should think about the advisory commission or the advisory committee as an option. If you want to set up a separate body that would then move forward in the decision-making process, then the hybrid or independent commission may be a better option. So that's just, and obviously we're not making a decision tonight, but I just wanted to introduce that so that the council could start thinking about the distinctions between the options that are in front of them. And I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ethan. So is it coming back to council now for discussion? As has been indicated, there's no action on this tonight. This is introduction of the topic and information. What would probably be helpful is if there's any desire for additional information as we prepare to make our path, the decision on which path to take at a June meeting. Anyone wish to ask any additional questions?
Can we go back to this slide where the recommendations would be?
Okay, Councilmember, there you go.
That one. And I have a question for Ethan. The contract with the county, is there an idea what that entails, the cost, et cetera?
I haven't spoken with the county about that. We can certainly find that out. Anna, I don't know if you've had any discussions with them about what the cost associated with that is.
No, I have not. And yeah, the Senate Bill 1018 doesn't say much about it. It just says it has added that to the elections code, and there's a very brief paragraph, but yeah, I haven't spoken to the county.
So we can have that discussion and get back to you. I'm sorry we don't have that information tonight.
That's fine.
All right.
Mr.
Additional
Mayor,
questions?
I have a couple comments.
Oh, please proceed, and then Vicky will come back to you, okay? Rich?
Thank you. Having been a part of the last one, I think it needs to be local control and not necessarily turn something over to the county. I like the idea of an advisory commission that's appointed by the council. None of our family members or anybody that's been part of a campaign or elected person should be on the commission. I would hope that this advisory commission, like the last one was instructed to do, was to provide the council with 2 options. It was a very, the effort was significant. A lot of information that is given to this commission and a lot of details that requires time and energy to sort through. One of the individuals at the elections office, I think he's since retired, was invaluable to this process. I don't remember his name. I think his name was Tom. Yes, heck of a man and wealth of knowledge. So I wonder if we could reach out to Mr. Salinas to see if he could appoint somebody on his office to assist this commission, which is what Tom did with the last commission. I also think that the commission should be comprised of at least 1 citizen from each district, all 5 districts, and that each council member should submit the name of 1 individual from your district who might want to participate. I also think that the members of the public should be asked to participate as well. So I don't have a problem with 5 members or up to 7. That's my 2 cents.
That sounded more like about $50. But anyway, thank you, Rich. We appreciate the input. Did any other council member wish to offer additional input at this time? Now, Vicky Fernandez, I think you had your hand up, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying it. I just wanted to bring up the same question that Councilmember Landsberg brought up about the contract with the county. And my concern and my request is that we are as transparent and as impartial as possible in the process. I did attend and did observe the council when options were presented in the initial redistricting. So I just want to make sure that the options and the review process for redistricting is as transparent with our community as possible, and would like to look at a hybrid commission where it's not necessarily council members who are currently making the final decision or creating the commission necessarily. So I think it should be more independent from us, because I believe that it may appear that we may have some something to gain from the process if we are choosing those that are on the commission. So that's my only request, is that is as transparent, and not to say that we would do anything like that, but I just would not want to give it the appearance that we in any way are influencing a valuable tool that voters have within our city, and the opportunity to have their voice heard. And redistricting is a viable tool that voters have within our city to make decisions. So my advocacy is for transparency and as much community input as possible.
Yes, Council Member Garcia Cadena. You're muted.
I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm curious to know which of these options were used when the original districting was, districts were created. I'm assuming it was one of these options.
Yes.
So I'll let you speak to this, Mayor Soller, since you were involved.
All right. You know, first of all, it wasn't a redistricting, it was a districting. This was our initial time of developing 5 independent districts in the city of Woodland. So it really wasn't too many years ago now, maybe 5. And we did appoint an advisory commission. It was broadly stated, trying to represent a number of constituencies in the community, including ethnicities. And they came up, as I recall, with I think 5 maps, and referred them all with two or three recommended options. And again, it was a council-controlled process, but the council adopted a map that put 3 of the incumbents in the same district. So I don't think anyone can question the integrity of the Woodland City Council in terms of how that districting was resolved. So I agree, it should be transparent, and it should be as inclusive as anybody wants to get involved. Welcome to do so. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we have to make a decision at this table. And I think we will. And I think we were well served last time. Additional questions, Councilmember Garcia Cadena?
No, thank you. That answers my question.
Yeah.
I do just want to make
yes.
Yeah, the ad hoc appointed a Citizens Advisory Committee. It was not a Citizens Advisory Commission, but it was the first option, the Citizens Advisory Committee.
That's exactly what I meant. I apologize if I misstated it. Sorry.
Thank you.
So, and you know, they worked hard.
Yeah.
Now, the manager informs me that we can get a program that gives us all of the voting data and perhaps rely internally on our own IT staff to assist the Citizens Advisory Commission, as well as the committee, as well as the council. So these things have gotten easier to do as software has gotten more sophisticated. So, you know, and I'm going to say too, I think we did a good job last time. The district's lines are fairly discrete. I mean, you can understand the way the map of the town works pretty easily by looking at it. And I'm just going to go another step further and say, you know, the real challenge this time is going to be how to move voters from the 5th district to the other 4, because currently she's about 10. Myra is working harder than us. She's got about 10,000 more voters, which means to make this work, we're going to have to shift at least 2,000 residents, because it's based on population, not registered voters. So we're going to have to shift about 2,000 people to 4 other council districts, and so that we split that 10,000 5 ways. And that's just a very crude summary of what's going on. So we all ought to be thinking, I'm looking at this 2 ways. I think, well, you know, how do we add 2,000 residents to each of the other 4 districts and do it in a way that it's fairly discrete? Looking at the existing lines, is there a way to do that? And I'd be interested in knowing what that is. And if that works out and people like it, maybe that's our solution. The other approach is to presume that no lines exist and to start from scratch. I don't think the criteria that Anna read requires that we take the latter approach, but it's certainly an approach to be considered. So that's kind of my analysis at this point. I'll be interested in learning more as we go forward. Anybody have anything else they want to add?
Mayor Stollard, I have a comment.
Please, Mayor Pro Tem.
Right. So I just want to add in, just in support of having a representation from each of the districts. I also, you mentioned having ethnicity represented. I'd also like to add language. You know, as we've seen our city residents change and demographics have changed, it's just important to me that we, in this group of individuals that are going to be helping us, that there is a diversity of ethnicity and language and hopefully background. So Councilmember Landsberg, I appreciate your shared experience about the amount of work that this is. I hope that as citizens are looking at this, that they consider taking this on as a limited term project, as I think this is something that's really important. I would really love to have a very engaged community as we go through this process.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Vega. Let's see, is everyone, I think everyone has commented now. Any further comments from anyone? All right, well, this was just an
Mayor,
interview.
I have a question for council.
Please proceed.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Landsberg.
Mr. Walsh, the required to be heard on now. Can I be heard?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Council Walsh, there's a provision in the document we were provided that no member of this advisory committee or commission, whatever we decide to do, can run for local office for 5 years. Is that a local rule or is that something that the Senate bill included?
That's something that the Senate bill included, and it's a new rule. But yes, that's in the new law that that Anna referenced.
Thank you.
Well, it's dumb. Should only be one election cycle, which is 2 years.
All right. All right. Well, we've had quite a few.
I think the fair mapping also discusses major geographical barriers or boundaries. And I know for District 5, we have some rather not very distinctive boundaries for District 5 in particular. I'm not sure about the others, but I do want to reiterate that I think the whole process is about transparency and community engagement, and in no way that we look at it as an opportunity for anyone to, I think that's why they've included the 5 years, so that no one has the appearance of using this to their advantage. And I think that I think that that's where the League of Women Voters information is helpful to look at the need to use the best practices to make sure that we have inclusion for the community, so that there is no illusion of anything other than fairness for the entire community.
Who can disagree with that, council member? I feel that's the way it worked last time, as the council voted against its own interest in adopting the map we did. And you know, 2 of the incumbents weren't able to continue in consequence. They ran, but they were not successful. So anyway, any final comments? Mr. Walsh?
None from me. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, any final comments?
No, I do want to let you know that there are no voicemails or emails or any hands raised.
Thank you. We want to be sure we're listening to our public, don't we? All right, Mr. Manager, any final comments on this statement, or any comments on process going forward?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the initial feedback from the council. What I think we will do is, you know, take all of that feedback and narrow down what I see is maybe 1 or 2 different options that the council seems to be leaning towards. So we'll articulate those as a couple options for the council to consider at an upcoming meeting. And hopefully we're close enough to where we hear some consensus that by June we'll have that process determined and outlined, and then move forward with recruitment of community members to help shape the process moving forward. So again, appreciate it, and feel free if you have any follow-up questions as you start to hear from constituents or think about this, feel free to contact staff and put that into the next report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manager. That does conclude our calendar for this evening, I believe. And I would like to have one memorial adjournment today. It occurred to me as soon as I saw the mention in the paper that we really need to adjourn in memory of William Patterson. There's a line in the Bible that I love, and it's from Corinthians. There are diversities of gifts, but the same Spirit. I quote that a lot because it means everybody is important in making our community go. And it doesn't matter how exalted they are or how humble they are. William was a man that was born with developmental challenges, but he walked through his life with a smile on his face and a kind word for everyone. He lived for many years at Summer House, a home designed especially for people like William. But the community responded to his cheerfulness and kindness, and it was reciprocal. It just kept going. Anyway, wonderful guy. He managed to make it to 80. So I think, first of all, he was a wonderful example for all of us of cheerfulness. He brought forth goodness from all those around him. And I think it's a credit to the community that we provided the options and support for him to have a successful life, including Dumars Landscaping, where he worked for many years, and people like Carol Rawlings at the Gifted Penguin, who would take him to Giants baseball games and things like that. So tonight we remember with fondness a wonderful human being, William Patterson. With that, our meeting is concluded. Have a pleasant evening, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Good night.